There's a lot that happens below the surface to help you grow and scale your TikTok shop and e-commerce brand. And my brother and I, we've scaled this company to over $10 million in sales. And I want to reveal some of the secrets behind how we did it in record time and break down one of the most important elements that most people overlook. This video is going to break down how we generated over 2 billion views through brand-led content, and also how we generated millions of dollars through TikTok and multiplied that effect across our other sales channels like Meta, Google Ads, and even YouTube Shorts, blowing it up to almost 1 million followers as of recording of this video. This is crucial for brand owners who really want to get the competitive edge to help them grow and scale a lot easier. So this is a training that I recorded that I have not revealed publicly yet, that I hope you enjoy going into the new year to set yourself up for success in 2026 and help you build a $1 million TikTok shop. So without further ado, guys, enjoy the training and Happy New Year. We'll see each other very soon. This is one of the most anticipated modules that I've been excited to share with you guys, because we're talking about how we built this, Gamenetics. This is the brand that we built. It took us about 2 years to develop. And the experience I have with branding goes back to when I was 16. It's been close to 14 years now that I've had experience in branding and design and understanding the important elements that go into building a brand that makes an impact and influences people to purchase products. So in this module, we're going to be talking about brand, we're going to be talking about product, and how to develop a product that truly makes an impact and makes people want to come back and buy again, and also spreads via word of mouth. This is a very, very important one, and I want you guys to understand that this process isn't something that happens overnight. Now, you may see this packaging, we're going to go through the unboxing experience, and I'm going to walk you through how we built this, why we built this, to hopefully give you some insight into what you can take from this to incorporate into your own brand. Now, you may be currently selling a dropshipping product and may not have much of a brand, or you may already have an existing brand where you have packaging and things in place that maybe you could enhance and make better and make more of an impact that way. Because the best form of marketing is word of mouth, and that's what we've done here with Gamenetics. Now, the way we've done this is through content. Content has been a key part of this, and I hope that going through this course, you've seen the importance of content and all the details and strategies and knowledge that Andrew and I have shared in this course have been the accumulation of 2 decades of experience in content creation. See, Andrew and I have experience that goes back well beyond the start of this company and also our agency X Factor. And so I really want you guys to understand that we've created billions of views through content, that we've generated millions of followers through content, and we've helped other brands grow through the means of brand and product. So the reason I want to bring this up and the reason why I want to start here is because the brand experience that you create for your customers is so critical, okay? And people ask me a lot, what is brand? What does brand even mean? Because it's such a general and large term used in the industry that a lot of people have different definitions for. And I find myself that the brand really means, and what I've come to know brand to really mean is, it's about experience, it's about a feeling that you create for your customers, and ultimately, the way that you help your customers to feel towards what you sell and what you stand for. And so when we go back to the fundamentals and how you build a real brand, if you don't have a vision or a mission established for your company, it's going to be very hard for you to create a world that your customers want to be a part of. Now, you can do this through the words you use, you can do this through the visuals and the design and the colors that you use. And these elements are so critical to think about because you've got to create something that's consistent, something that people can begin to familiarize themselves with. And so when you look at Gamenetics here, we'll just start with this packaging, and we'll kind of break down the product, and then we'll kind of jump back to talking about the vision and mission. But you can see here that this packaging, if you were to go to our website and see our brand, you would notice that this packaging is very similar to the way that people would experience the website, okay? Now, this packaging and website would be very similar to the way you experience our content and how we make people feel, and the visuals we use, the LED lights we use, the dark themes we use. And There's something to be said about that. There's an impact that you can have in a way if you can keep things consistent across all elements of the business, that's how you create something memorable. Because that's the goal, right? It's to create something memorable, to create something that allows people to feel like they can be themselves, that they can wear with pride or use with pride and have something that means something to them. And that feeling you create, there are a lot of elements that play into this. So if we just open up the packaging here for Gamenetics, okay? Now, you might be wondering, what is this, right? Infinite possibilities, unlimited potential. What does this mean? Why do we have this right here as soon as we open up the packaging? Well, it's because this is our vision. This is the thing that we want to impact people with, right? Infinite possibilities, unlimited potential. Now, when we were developing this, I wanted to create a brand that not just meant that you could have customizable options, not just that we could be the world's most customizable controller company, but truly mean that the products we sell are an example of what the person buying could truly become and what we truly believe they could become. And so it's a lot more than just having infinite possibilities with all the custom options that we have on the website, right? It's a lot more than just the unlimited potential that the controller has, or you know, your skill level in the game can have in owning this product and getting better, right? But it's about who that person can truly become in life, right? It's about who they can become. Like if they want to, you know, pursue a career in streaming or becoming a content creator, or maybe they have another dream that isn't necessarily gaming related, we support that. We stand for that. We want to help them become and embody that. And so this means so much more than just related to the product. And so if you don't have something like this, right? Now, whether that's forward facing or not, if your employees don't know this, then how are you meant to integrate this into what you do? How are you meant to make an impact if you don't have something that's larger than yourself, something that everyone can get behind? This is critical. You have to have this, right? So you can see even the background here, right? This is a picture or an image that's used on the background of our builder right now, our customizer. And I want to show you a little bit about the customizer here in a little bit as well to showcase to you a little bit about the brand side of things. And so the very first thing to open up, right? It's kind of like a gift box. So we designed this to be a premium package. Now inside here we've got, you know, on the outside we've got a magnetic box, right? Now I even went to the extent of a supplier, I wanted to get a purple, right? I want to get this certain purple, and in gaming, neon colors are very common, right? So you need to make sure that you understand what your industry is about, what colors and themes and feelings that you want to create through your products and brand. And also, it's very important to know your customer, because your customer will influence what those things look like. So with this, we had a supplier that had this, you know, purple look, you know, with the black, and that was the kind of the goal, is to match like the logos. But they couldn't put fluorescent dye in the box. Now, why did I want fluorescent dye in this purple? Well, if you go to Walmart and you have a look at all the gaming products, you'll notice that all of them kind of have this like neon fluorescent color on the packaging. And so I knew that I wanted to have this because I knew that it would make a little impact. Now, you know, how much different is it from the normal purple? I'm not 100% sure, but this purple was a specific type of color that I wanted to be able to incorporate into the packaging. And so the attention to detail here and not making exceptions for what we wanted was a priority in how we created this packaging. And this packaging has been responsible for generating millions of dollars and billions of views with TikTok. And it's spread by word of mouth. Okay, so let's get a little bit further into this, and I'll kind of, you know, walk you through kind of the thought process, because there's a lot of psychology that goes into this, right? So first and foremost, it's kind of like a gift box. So whether you're buying it for a friend or for yourself, you feel a sense of, hey, this is a gift that I'm getting, right? This is something special that I'm getting. Now, first and foremost, you see, I've got my name written on this, and this is just an example of what a customer would receive, is handwritten in metallic Sharpie on the front that says the customer's name, okay, when they place the order. So first and foremost, they see their name written on the card, which is really, you know, a personalized thing that we do. Now, this card is really special because we created a little bit about our mission and our vision statement and a little bit about the company here with meeting the team. on this card, so they can learn a little bit about the brand and what we stand for and what we're all about. And this was important to us. And you can see down here there's a signature. This signature is hand signed by the controller technician who built this specific controller that's in this box. So there's another personalization factor, right? There's a connection that the customer makes with the person from the company. And so the reason we wanted to do this is to provide that level of impact, right? Doing something different that most companies don't do. There's that human connection, right? That you may feel that the other brands that just don't do that stuff. Now, can this scale? Can we hand sign every, card and hand write every name on a card? Yes, but it's going to be hard, right? But we're still going to maintain that because it's an important element of what makes GameNetics GameNetics. So first they see this card, right? Oh, this is great. Learn a little bit about GameNetics. And then the next thing is all they have to do is open up this and think about the anticipation this creates, right? They have a custom controller sitting here, right? They're seeing all this cool packaging. They're reading this card. They're seeing all this stuff. And then finally, it reveals a controller. Now, this is in a case. This is a hard case that the customer will receive. And I want to talk a little bit about the presentation, right? So the whole idea here and the concept, and the reason that I'm going into detail here is because I hope that your mind is you're generating ideas, you're generating thoughts of what you can do to improve your unboxing experience. Because your unboxing experience, when it comes to content creation, using affiliates to promote you and your products, creating content on TikTok and running ads, this is everything. The better you can make this, the more impactful it's going to be when you have it in a piece of content. The less you have to really try to create crazy content, because guess what? Your product does it for you. So the more that you can think about how this experience goes, and I know you're all in very different industries than maybe gaming, but you have to think about these things, right? So it's in this purple kind of royal looking cushion, right? And so the whole idea was, well, we want to make our customers feel a little bit like royalty, right? So we wanted to have this satin, cloth that this controller sat in to make it feel like something special. And so then when they take it out, right, they're going to put the box to the side, and as you know, the box is rigid. People are probably going to keep this, in their closet, which again will remind them of GameNetics and the brand, right? They'll show their friends. And a few details here on the packaging is we've got the G, which is the logo, and we even went as far to brand the zippers. Okay, so the zippers here are actually branded with GameNetics. And this was an important detail because it's the details that matter, all right? So this case too is a high quality nylon mesh. There were cheaper cases that were on the market. We ordered samples of both boxes. We ordered samples of packaging. We ordered samples of colors, right? For this zipper, we wanted, to be able to match the colors as best we could. And so now it's the time, now they have this case, right? It's time to reveal what they've customized. This is the moment that they've all been waiting for. They've spent, I don't know how long, 30 seconds, couple of minutes maybe, going through all this, reading the card, looking at the card, and now it's time to look at what they actually built. And so there's this anticipation as they unzip the controller, right? And then all of a sudden they get to reveal and see what they ordered. Here it is, right? So up until this moment, they've had this whole experience, right? Now, we could have just put this controller in a case and just shipped out the case. We could have put this controller in just a box and put some bubble wrap around it to save on cost, right? We could save, I think our packaging, all in, maybe we're spending $10 to $15 per all of our packaging, because this comes standard with every order, right? It's very expensive to do this, but the impact that we've had is substantial. And the ripple effect that has come from doing this and investing in the brand has had such a big impact that we've completely blown up, right? We've been able to grow, a huge following. You've generated a lot of views from our content, and we've made millions of dollars. And so this is the product, all right? Now, this product here, I know many of you are probably not gamers, but this product is all custom built. So we've got gold on the back. We've got these high quality materials. We don't have cheap parts that we order, right? We spend a bit more money on good parts. And then there's modifications that have been done on the inside. So there's what we call mouse click triggers, okay? Normal triggers don't sound like this or do this. But my point here is that when you have a product, you want to invest in quality. You want to be the person in the market who is on the higher end. And the reason why is because you have more leverage. Being higher priced in the market gives you a little bit more leverage. And so when you're thinking about how can we level up our brand, what can we do to improve the quality of our products, and how can we position ourselves in the market, think about what could you do if you sold your product for maybe twice the price or 50% more. How much more money would you have to invest in stuff like this? How much more money would you have to invest in developing a better product, in creating a better experience, right? Because at the high end of the market, you have all the leverage. You can outcompete all of your competitors who are trying to win on price. But if you're always trying to compete on price, you're never going to win. You'll never be able to truly scale your company because you're always going to be limited by the price that you set yourself at. So being at the premium end of the market is always better. And so for Gamenetics, we are at the premium end of the market. And because we're at the premium end of the market, we can charge premium prices and invest in premium things and experiences for our customers. So I hope that, this has provided a bit of value and gotten your cogs turning and thinking about like what you can do to improve your product and your unboxing experience, because truly the product is so important, right? When we talk about marketing and doing TikTok ads, you have to remember that it's not just all about marketing, right? All these other things are very, very important. Building an e-commerce company is not easy, but if you continue to learn and develop and take customer feedback and continue to work on your product, right, you don't have to be here from day one, right? You could introduce a case in the beginning. You could introduce something cheap like, think about the materials that you're using for your product, right? Maybe you have a plastic bag that you use to ship out your products, but maybe you should get a frosted bag that has a little bit more of a softer touch that just increases a little bit of the perceived value of your product and your packaging. Little things like that don't cost a lot but go a long way in terms of the end user and make people kind of understand that, hey, like they actually care, right? They actually care about how they send their products and how they're presented. And presentation is very, very important. So that's what we focus on at Gamenetics. The last thing I want to mention on products before we move to talking about brand again is that if you sell a mediocre product right now and maybe you've been selling some you've been selling stuff every month and maybe you're doing drop shipping or you have an e-commerce company where like your products are just mediocre and people sell the same thing as you. You're constantly competing on like the same products that your competitors sell, and you're trying to figure out why you can't grow your company or why you can't scale your ads or why your ROAS isn't high. Now, you can focus on creative, right? Because I believe creative has a bigger impact on results than what maybe the product does, right? Like I think you can sell a bad product through marketing, but if you have bad marketing, it doesn't matter how good your product is, you can't sell it, right? Like I believe that the marketing is a very important part, but if your product sucks, then people are either going to catch on or already know it, and you're never going to get people to come back to you. So you have to invest in your product, because once people buy your product and realize it's not good, do you think they're going to come back and buy again? Do you think they're going to tell their friends they should come and check it out? No, right? It's going to literally limit you. It's going to, this ripple effect that you can create by having all these things in place. And as you grow, you can continue to invest in these things. You're just going to have one drop in the bucket and that's it. You're not going to have this big ripple effect. So with product, the best marketing is word of mouth. And if you make a good product, it'll spread by word of mouth, and it can spread very, very quickly. Like I said, in 2 years, we've reached over 1 billion people, 1.2 million followers. We've generated millions of dollars. And we are now ranked and in conversations with some of the biggest companies in the industry, in like the top 3 to 5 companies in the industry that have been around for a decade. In 2 years, we've been able to get here. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to help you realize that the things that we've done, they've all been done intentionally. And the things that I'm sharing with you, I don't want you to take them as a grain of salt, because they truly are important. There's a whole reason we have this module right now that I'm filming for you guys, because it wouldn't be complete without this. It wouldn't be complete without at least bringing this to your awareness to start thinking about and start implementing into your advertising, because you can continue to iterate on your content. You can continue to make better ads and, run your campaigns better and, start understanding more things about how to, scale ads and do those things and edit better creatives. But at the end of the day, the biggest leverage that you have in creating a company that you can either exit or that can be at a high valuation and can grow for a long, long time is this right here, is this. So now let's shift a little bit to branding. Let's talk about how the relationship between product and brand. So we talked a little bit about the vision and the mission. Now the vision and mission are very important because the vision is what you want to build and the mission is why you want to do it. And so when you create a mission that your customers and your employees and people who know you can get behind what you want to do, then there can be a greater cause to why they want to be associated with your brand. So if you have a cause, something that's greater than you, right? You're not building this company to just make some money and sell some products, right? But if you don't have a mission, something that you can share with your customers of, hey, this is what this brand means to us. This is what we're trying to do. This is why we're doing it. It creates so much more conviction for people who start to have similar values and viewpoints as your brand. And this is what creates true fans. And true fans are the ones that really grow your business. They're the ones that keep coming back. They buy everything you sell. They buy every new release. They're on every email list. They're watching every piece of content. They're commenting on all your videos. And those people matter a lot. They make a very, very big impact. So in addition to vision and mission, you have this kind of at the top, right? So if you haven't figured this out, please take the time to create a vision and a mission statement. You have to have it. And then meet with your team and employees about what your vision and mission statement is, or even meet with them beforehand to talk about some of the things that they feel make the brand and make the company unique. Have a conversation about them about what are things that are most important to us, because oftentimes if you don't have a vision or mission and even something else that you also want to put in place is core values, things that you value as a person and in your company, whether it's like hard work or being honest or being loyal, right? Have a conversation with your employees and ask them, what are some core values that we share around here in this workplace? What are some things that are important to us? And you'll often find that you already have some sort of culture that you're building at your facility or in your business. And those are really important because, again, like I know culture isn't necessarily a topic we're going to dive into this video too in depth, but building a good culture in your company is also a very, very important part of having good morale and motivating employees and being able to have them to be inspired to execute in their roles at a high level, right? And ultimately, those are the people that grow your company, is the people that work for you. It's so important that they know that what they're doing has a greater purpose. And so the culture in your company is also important. So core values, vision, mission, figuring out the culture, like those are all such foundational pieces of your company that you have to figure out. Now, in addition to figuring out that higher vision, having a vision statement, one very important part of brand is being able to sell the vision of the life that your customers actually want through your brand. Now, how do you do this? You've got your website, you've got photos, you've got videos, you've got customer service, you've got replying back to people's comments, you've got all of the touch points that people can have experiences with you and see your brand and talk to someone who's in your company. Those all have a big impact. And what you want to be able to do is first understand who your customer actually is. Now, I'm sure you've heard this time and time again. Customer avatar is so important that you know who you're actually trying to sell, right? Because the person that you're trying to sell to, you have to know what their goals are. You have to know what their aspirations are, because if you don't know that, you can't sell them the vision of what they want. How are you meant to know what your customers want if you don't even know who your customers are? And so when you're creating graphics and you're doing photography and you're doing video and you're creating these things in assets for your website, how can you sell the vision of what your brand can do for them and what their life can look like with your products, whether it's improving the quality of their life, increasing their status, making them feel wealthy, improving their relationships. These are all kind of these higher level aspirations that as human beings we desire to have. And so you have to be able to convey that through your brand in some way, right? Think of some brands that you know and think about the message that they convey. How do they make you feel when you see their photo and video and graphics and things like that? Like, how do these brands make you feel, right? I'll just name a few. Just give you a few seconds to think about it, right? Think about Apple, okay? How does Apple make you feel? When you own an Apple product, what does that make you feel like, right? What kind of imagery and branding do they use? What kind of design do they use, right? What are their products like? Now, what about another brand like, say, Nike, right? How does Nike make you feel? When you see that brand, what kind of thoughts and feelings and aspirations do you feel when you think about that brand, right? What runs through your head? All of these things are just proof that in order to have an impact as a brand, you have to create these visions, these imagery, and allow your customers to experience those things. So moving on to the customer experience and the experience that you're creating for your customers, as mentioned, this is everything. It's so important that you make an impact and have a wow experience. There's too many companies that don't have the impact that creates a memorable experience for that customer. So when it comes to the experience, the most important things to think about is obviously the product unboxing experience, right? The way that the customer sees the product. There's a few other areas that you want to be thinking about in terms of touch points for that customer. And this is pre and post purchase for the customer, right? So first and foremost is content, right? How are you conveying, how are you making people experience either your product or your brand or your culture or your team members or even some of the influencers that you work with? How are you presenting that brand? How is that product integrated into people's lives? All right. The second thing is also customer service. Customer service is a very important part of making sure that that experience is a very seamless and easy experience for potential customers to have with you. It's going to create a positive outcome, and people are going to not get frustrated and disappointed with how the brand interacts if you've got someone who can stay up with customer service and make sure that they're staying on top of it, because customer service is one of those things where, like, if you're not staying up with, people will just kind of fall off and not really want to be a part of the brand because they don't feel like they're cared about. Now, a lot of customers sometimes can be really difficult to deal with, and oftentimes it can be hard to make decisions on what to do, whether you should issue a refund or whether you should do this or that. And a lot of customers can be a little bit unfair to brands, but it's important that you maintain your brand consistency. It's important that you maintain your brand values and what you stand for. And sometimes it's better to just submit a refund rather than cause an issue where a customer may be really, really upset and they want to leave a bad review on Trustpilot or Google Reviews. Just bite the bullet and do the right thing and just refund them or take care of them in some way so that they're not going to go out online and start talking crap about you, basically. Because this has happened to us before with certain situations where there was a time we had a massive influx of orders and we got backed up about 6 to 8 weeks. And a very big thing happened with our brand reputation where people had an expectation of when they were going to receive their product. Now, keep in mind, we had this stapled all over our website about shipping times, in our announcement bar, in our checkout process, how long it was going to take to build. But people still got really frustrated and annoyed that they didn't get their product as soon enough from when they were expecting. And so this caused people commenting on our ads, people leaving bad reviews on Google and Trustpilot. And even though we're keeping up with customer service, we still had these things fall through the cracks. And it was honestly a really difficult thing for me to see because once you have certain things in your company and your brand happen, it's like you have to work even harder to build back that trust. So just maintain those standards and expectations for everyone on the team and for the brand, because it's really hard to build trust. And as soon as you do something that kind of rubs people the wrong way, it can have a bad ripple effect as well. And so it's very important that you prioritize your brand and what you stand for and do things because it's the right thing to do rather than, saving money or not making, a sale, right? So it's very important to focus on that. So that's kind of the experience part of it. And I wanted to jump to kind of the feeling, right? The feeling part of the brand is, again, probably the one of the most impactful and memorable things that people kind of make an impact on them the most. Because when you think about experiences that you've had in your life, and whether it's a trip that you've taken with your family, or you've won a certain tournament, or you've accomplished something in your life, one of the things that you remember is how you felt in that moment, right? And so when your customers can feel a certain way about your brand, that's what creates that memorable connection to who you are, and draws them back in the future, or it may draw them back to you in the future, and may establish that kind of deeper connection that other brands aren't establishing with them. So this comes down to a few things. There's some psychological things as it relates to colors that have an impact on how people feel towards you. For example, you'll notice that a lot of social media and big companies use a dark blue color, and this dark blue color is often associated with loyalty and trust. And so that color is often overused, or it's used a lot because that's what that color means. It has a psychological effect on people that way, right? Yellow, for example, has kind of got a kind of happy and playful kind of vibe. So each color, and you can look at a color wheel and all the definitions and meanings behind different brand colors, and you probably already have a brand color in mind, but if you really think about how you can impact people, color is a big one, and design is a big one. Do you have a modern design website, or is your website designed a bit more maybe retro, or maybe your website's designed a bit more futuristic, right? You need to find something that fits your brand and is consistent with your customer base. So in addition to those two things is also thinking about your content and how you market. All of these things, the most important part, all of these things need to be consistent. You need to have a way of having something that can guide you in the process and kind of be a standard that everyone in the company follows, whether it's the people you work with outside the company as like contractors or people inside the company. You need to have some sort of consistent thing that you can reference and use as guidelines. So when it comes to selling your products, if you can sell the outcome, the desired result of what that product brings for the customer, this will have more of a connection and a buying reason than just talking about products and features. So think about what the outcome is that they want. Think about their goals. Think about the lifestyle that they want. Think about what the product that you sell does for their lives, and lean into that. By owning your product, what would that allow them to do, right? What would it allow them to do if they owned your product? So, for example, let's say you own a outdoors brand, right? And you sell things that if people want to go camping, they can use to basically increase or improve their quality of life while they're camping, right? So would you just sit there and talk about all the product and features and the little details about the product? Or would you sell them the idea of a vision of an ad? Maybe you showcase a husband and wife going on a trip, on a hike, and then it's showing all these tools being used in practical settings, lighting a fire, or setting up a tent, like things like this that can kind of share that vision with them of what the outcome is that they want from buying the product, right? Because people are interested in products and features, but it's usually just something that they do after the fact, after they know that they want the product. So that outcome is so important. So sell them the outcome, and then also mention the product and features, but really try and focus on that vision of what it would be like to own the product. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to kind of go over is to show you guys the consistency between brand and product. And you can see here on the website that if you look at our packaging here, right, and you look at the colors, right, on the website, everything is very, very consistent. So we've got the purple, we've got the dark colors, we've got, the controllers here with the packaging, right? And when you go to Customizer, this is kind of our proprietary, building program that we have on our website that allows you to customize infinite possibilities, right? We have the most custom controller options in the world. And so people can go ahead and select these colors, right?
Ignore these white lines right now. We currently have someone working on getting these fixed, but on mobile they don't show up. So if you guys want to go to GameNetics.com and just check out this and just see what the experience is like, this is something that can give you kind of a bit of an idea of what's possible for your brand. Now, you may not sell custom products, but being able to see some of this may spark some ideas for you. But you can see that there's just so many different options, right? There's unlimited options to customize buttons and colors. And so we really lean into what that vision is for GameNetics, which is, again, remember, infinite possibilities and limited potential. We literally fulfill on this promise. If you look at our website and you see what this looks like, we're fulfilling on this vision, this promise. So there's consistency across our brand. Now, one thing that we've built, and I really enjoyed building this actually because I love design. We built a brand book. A brand book can be a very, very impactful way to help you to create guidelines for all members of your team so that there's consistency. And this is what we use in order to do all of this, right? You'll see that color-wise and shapes and elements, in the website, in the packaging, even in our content and graphics that we use, send out through email and SMS, everything's just consistent. And the way we do this is with something called a brand book. So I'll show you here just a few things about the brand book. And this is basically just a PDF that's been created. This probably took, I don't know how many hours, tens and tens of hours. And you don't need to have something this extensive, but it's important to have some sort of guidelines. And the whole idea behind this is, again, to share that vision of the brand and do it in a way through the lens of design, right? Because design influences the way people feel very, very heavily, and the layout and the elements and shapes. So this can be shared internally, and this can be shared with contractors or other people that you work with. Maybe you sponsor certain people, you work with content creators. You share this with them because once it's created, it's created. You can just share it with them, and they can just use it as a reference point to then build content or graphics or promotions or collaborations with you in a way that you can allow everything to be consistent. Say, hey, these are our guidelines. This is what we want you to follow, and then they can just follow it. So let's just go through a couple of things here to kind of get your wheels turning. This is something I'd recommend that you do or have someone in your team start to put together. And you probably already have some of these figured out. If you don't, I highly recommend that you start working on some of these elements. Because if you want to make your brand memorable, you have to think about what you're going to do to be consistent and familiar long term. Think about big companies like Walmart and McDonald's, right? Now, they've changed their logos over time, but they've remained consistent in how they use their colors and their shapes and their logos across all their products, right? And this is very, very important that you establish that consistently, because if you don't have anything consistent, then how are people going to start to remember and familiarize themselves with you and recognize your logos and your colors and all those other elements? So we've got our essence here. This basically talks about our brand design origin, how the name was created, right? Then we've got our brand pyramid, a little bit of identity, personality, some of the benefits of the company and values. These are things that we try and uphold and stick to. We've also got a little bit about our brand voice, so tone words and ways that we conversate with people, whether it's in comments or customer service or on the phone, right? These are all things that allow us to connect with our customers and keep it consistent. Here's a little vision board of some of the branding that we used for the inspiration behind GameNetics' design. Now, when I was working with the team that helped us, put together all the branding and the website, I was very, very, very heavily involved in the vision for this brand. I had a vision of what I wanted to create this company to be, and we were able to basically conceptualize and start building out elements and start pulling this all together. And these elements here on this board, and including the mood board, this was kind of the first concept before any of the brand was really created to help give us a little bit of a direction of where we want to go. So if you're trying to come up with a brand right now and really refine what that looks like, go and do some research and try and find some inspiration of and look at this brand looks really good, and then this brand looks really good, and just kind of compile a mood board to have as a reference to just showcase what's actually something that you like, and then you can share that with some of your team. Maybe you have a designer in your team or someone else that you can hire to help you build it out. So in the logo, right, we've got, this is maybe a little bit of information for you guys about GameNetics, but we wanted to lean into the customization. I wanted to lean into the sports, so we've got the BMW M logo that we also use inspiration for, as you can see on the packaging. the lines here for Gainetics, and also we want it to be bold, right? We got all the different variations of the logos that we use right here as well. We talk about logo use and how to use it, right? For the full logo with the name and the mark, and also the type. We've got the color, right? Secondary colors. We've got, misuses of the logo, colors and color codes, different combinations of ratios of colors being used, typography, right? These are our main fonts we use. We've got brand assets. This is where it gets into kind of a lot more detail. Brand utilization, how we want to use our motion graphics, even down to our LUTs and our video, our music as well. We use a lot of synthwave and retrowave throughout all of our content and marketing. And so these are all kind of an example of ways that you can kind of create guidelines and frameworks around your brand and keep things consistent. Because as you grow, you really want to be able to have those things in place so that everyone on the team can just know exactly what to do, exactly what rules to follow, and be able to implement them. All right, guys, so this has been a very, very important module. I really want you guys to take home that the brand and product are a key part and key component of the long-term goal that you have to build a successful e-commerce company. This doesn't happen overnight. There's lots of things that we talked about here, and these are just things that you can start thinking about to start working on as you continue to grow and scale your brand, as you continue to create content and implement marketing. Now, there'll be a separate program that we'll be talking about going into way more detail about brand and product, and which will already be out if it's not already, that you'll be able to get access to, where we'll really break down all the little details of exactly how to actually do it. Today we stayed pretty high level. I know that may be a lot of information already to you guys. It's something that you may not have been thinking about, but I'm really passionate about brand, and we've built a successful brand, and brand is something that I truly enjoy and I'm very passionate about. And because I've been able to do so many things in so many different businesses, I'm able to have this high level view and understand all these elements that go into it. And so I love talking about it and getting into the details of it, because it truly has one of the biggest impacts on your overall success as a company long-term. So that's gonna wrap up this module, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions and drop them in the community. We'll be here to help you answer any questions on this. Maybe share a bit of your brand and packaging with us, a little bit about your product, maybe some questions that you may have based on this, and we look forward to answering them, but we'll see you in the next module.